Hi there, hello, and welcome everybody back to another Marvel Rivals video. This is going to be a bit of a different one than the normal video that we post here on the channel. Typically, we post coaching content and gameplay content, but I would rather post something as we come to an end on the season that is a bit of more of a scope, a look back at the entire season that I ended up playing and things from my perspective. This isn't a video for those of you in high elo, whether that be in high celestial or eternity one above all, of course, but more of a video for the people that are in grandmaster, things below that that might just need the extra little help to get where they want to be and maybe assist them a little bit on their journey as they climb and rank up in Marvel Rivals. First things first, the biggest thing that I wanted to cover on this first part of the video is talking about my kind of journey, my trajectory. Where was I starting and where did I end up ending? And how much time did I put into the rank while playing? So, as you can see here in Season 0, we ended Grandmaster 3, which is a big accomplishment for me at the time. I wanted my crest. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could hit it and maybe go for more later on in my gameplay. And we ended up doing that. We did that pretty well, not bad at all. And we ended up hitting Celestial in the first half of Season 1, which for me, again, was a big thing. Actually, 64 hours worth of a big thing. I pushed myself to hit it, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could, not really knowing if I'd be able to hit Eternity before Season 2. And it did. We made drastic improvements, and we made a lot of them, and we put a lot of new things into consideration, and we actually ended up making that bigger climb in less time, which is great. It's a fantastic accomplishment for me, and I'm really, really glad. We ended up starting in Platinum, I believe was the rank that we ended up starting in from Season Zero's end, and we made it to Eternity within the scope of a season, which is fantastic. And we did it mostly playing Magic, and I wanted to firstly talk about one tricking and the pros and cons, as well as the growth that I've made and things I've learned while doing so. The truth is, if you want a one trick, that's perfectly fine, and you're going to have a fun time playing the game, but you might run into a problem of stagnating. You're going to reach a floor that you have to break through before you can go any higher. And you're going to have to push yourself as a player to learn things. But you're also going to run into the issue of you're going to have a lot more of a limited pool if you ever decide to stop one tricking. I myself throttled my win rate, especially in the first or the second half of the season, because I tried really late in the game to learn other things, to play other characters and have a good time and just be a better player overall. In the long run, I'm glad that I did this, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But because of that, we slowed down our pacing quite a bit because the realization kicked in that while we are fairly decent at the character and we have a really good time when playing it, we had a really high win rate for Magic. We had about a 60%, which is great. Um, I'm not better than a lot of those big YouTubers, and that's fine. This is more of a video targeting the people from more of a average Joe perspective anyway that just want to be better. Um, I pride myself on having more fun with the game than most people, rather than just being a better content, not a content creator, but better player overall than them. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, is just having a great time. But at the same time, it stings a little bit. Everybody's going to have that realization at some point or another where there is somebody better than you, or maybe you can't reach that height. And I'm not saying that I never will, but as of right now, I can't. And that's fine. But to kind of get to be at a point where I could improve and become a better player and understand the game at a bit more of a fundamental level, I started playing other characters and diversifying my champ pool, which was a very, very big beneficial part of my climb up until the last second. When I hit Eternity, I didn't play any Magic for the entire 9-game win streak that I went on. I swapped to her one time off of Psylocke, who I was playing for a lot of those games because they were running comps that were really not good for Magic, which is totally cool. But I learned a lot about this game and a lot about like what I enjoy in a character. I really like creativity. And maybe for your pick, that's not what you enjoy. Maybe for tank, it is just being able to hold down the line and being the person that initiates things and calls the shots. Maybe for support, it's the sit back and help your team and allow them to look better because of what you're doing. Maybe you take pride in knowing that somebody can't do it without you, which is a great thing to have as well. there are a lot of things that might stand out to you that don't stand out to me, and vice versa. For me, I really enjoy the creativity of the champs that I play. Magic is obviously one of the best examples of that. She has incredibly great synergies with a lot of the dive characters. It can feel exactly like you're playing as a striker in Blue Lock whenever things are going well. But at the same time, Magic has some of the most terrifying lows in a match if you are playing bad or it's just not a good setup for your character. And I found that characters like Loki, Psylocke, Captain America, these characters that stand out to me quite a bit, make the game more fun overall because I'm experiencing something new and I'm learning and I'm able to actually apply things that I have known on another character to other characters and see results be good, which is great. But also, these characters have one thing in common with Magic that I didn't know until I, ended up dabbling and just having a good time and diversifying a bit, and that's their creativity factor for me. And I don't want to hone in on that too much, but I think the biggest thing is for you to figure out what that is for you, whether that be a creativity factor for you, or maybe it is just your team relying on you, or maybe it's the initiation that you can have as a tank player, things like that that can separate, you know, you one tricking to being a more of a role player, something that can do it all, but be very consistent at what you do. And I think that's very important. For Loki, it's his clone placement. I really enjoy the outplay potential on this character, as well as being able to carry a team fight without just heal botting the entire time. It's very, very cool to me, and I actually really love that about the character. With Psylocke, who I've just been recently playing a lot of, I enjoy how much damage this character can do with pokes, as well as getting rid of a lot of the common issues that Magic had, whether it be blue squid for Namor, needing to not go so ham and crazy in a team fight because they have a lot of poke and CC. I really enjoy the amount of creativity I can have with the dashes and the ults and how I can use them. Captain America is the perfect example of this in another role because I can engage and disengage in the most creative ways that I possibly want to, and I can get in and out and not have to worry about a lot of these things, while at the same time upholding the things that I like about the game, which is being a diverse player and doing things that other characters cannot do, and carrying in a different way than just my number is bigger than yours on a board of stats, right? That's a very, very big and important thing for me. I think that a large portion of the video that I kind of wanted to kind of cover and go over is the difference between good and bad mental, and how much that actually impacts the games that you play. I take pride in not having the worst of mental booms whenever I do play, but they do happen. A lot of time they happen off camera where I can kind of be able to do it without the worry of me getting too frustrated and it just being like a little bit corny and unwatchable. But for the most part, like I said, I have a really, really fun time playing the game. And overall, I hardly ever consider myself to be in a position where I don't want to play Marvel Rivals. When that is the case, it's because I've completed a goal, and honestly, I just need a break. But I think it's very, very important to know whenever you need to start and when to stop and when to give yourself that break, right? For me, I gave myself a rule of playing until I lost two or playing until I lost my cushion. And what do I call a cushion? I call it the starting point. So if I were to play one and I would lose it, and then I would play another when I would lose that one, it's a call, it's a quits for me, and the cushion now moves 2 games below. But if I win and I win and I win and I win, I would go until I was again back where I started, or I would be satisfied and I would call it a day. I think that it's very, very important that you kind of detach yourself from the rank number. And if you are going to attach yourself, make sure that it's not in a super duper toxic way and just make it so that it is a goal, but that's all it is. And that's not what you're going to live and die by, right? It's a very, very important thing for Marvel is they want to keep you in, they want to reel you in by attaching you to the rank. But it's okay to take a break. It just is. And you're going to have games that are going to be bad, and you're going to have days where you're just not really in the mood. But knowing whenever you need to stop queuing is a very, very big part of playing the game, right? A lot of people will blame a lot of their bad matches on the matchmaking of Marvel Rivals and how it's so toxic and horrible. I'm here to tell you that that's not 100% of the reason why you're hard stuck. There are times where your mental is just not good. You're having a hard time being happy and having fun playing the game, and that's a big part of the reason why you're not able to climb. Playing one in a bad mood does in fact stunt your growth. Not only as a player, you pay attention to the things that you enjoy and want to learn about the game a lot less, but it also will cause a lot of conflict with you and just climbing in general. You're not going to be playing in a good headspace. Your decision is going to be skewed, and you're going to be giving up a lot sooner whenever you play like that. I've been saying this since the start of my channel, especially since the start of me playing Marvel Rivals, but I play this game for vibes and to have a good time and improve myself. What I mean by that isn't, oh, just throw your game. It doesn't matter. It's just a video game, you know? You'll get it, like, it's just whatever, dude. It's not that big of a deal. I'm very competitive. I'm a very, very competitive person by nature. I actually intend to start trying to pick up some of the tournament scene that Marvel Rivals has at a point in time just to see and give it a go and see if I enjoy it. But I'm also not so lost in that transition of being competitive that I can't understand whenever it's not a good time to queue and whenever it is a good time to queue, right? So I don't like to assign things like a rank to myself as how good I am as a metric of a player, because if you improve that, it will sort itself out over time. And I've had a lot of people tell me that whenever they swapped that mindset, a lot more things happen for them. Playing the game for fun is the point of the game. If you're playing this game to just have a high rank, then what is the point? If you go out in the real world and you tell people that, what is the point? You know, like they're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, give this guy a raise. Let this guy pass school. He's the best Marvel Rivals player out there. It can be a hobby and it can be a goal, but make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, not just to have it. You want to have that ego, but you don't want to be arrogant while doing so, right? It's a very, very, very important thing, and making sure that you're not blaming it on the matchmaking of the game. And albeit, it's there. The EOMM, I think is what it's called. It's a thing, and it exists, but it doesn't affect all of your games. 10 out of 10 of your games are not going to be affected by it. Maybe 2 out of 10 is probably a more realistic number. And it's not just in this game. I hate to break it to you. It's in games like R6 as well. This is a thing that has been happening since the dawn of playing competitive video games. It just is. But they were just upfront about it whenever asked, right? That's like the only difference about it. And I think it's very, very important to note that. Whereas there are just things that are outside of your control, but there's also a lot inside of your control as well. People would not be able to climb if they were not able to make up for that, and you can always do better, which is a very, very, very big thing. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is how you can manage your time and make it worth your while. There are a lot of people that I see will just queue up Marvel Rivals without anything, without any kind of like processing or like kind of a digestive system for like how they treat their games. And what I mean by that is it's okay if you don't want to sit there and VOD review your games. That's totally acceptable, and I don't blame you. It's boring. It just is. I don't enjoy doing it personally, myself all that much, even though I review them quite a bit on stream and things like that. But just taking a little bit of a, what could I have done better? Although my team threw this game and I had a support who died 18 times to Spider-Man, could I have done anything better, and could I have enabled my teammates to play better in any capacity? That's the thing that you want to ask yourself. How did I die there? Could I have done something to make it so I wouldn't die there? Would a cooldown that I didn't end up using right out of the gate help that at all? These small questions that kind of like seem, frivolous actually add up, and a lot of times they can make you better. You don't always have to be taking in all this new information by VOD reviewing and be like, oh, I should have done this. The split-second decision makings, sometimes you just realize them without even needing to go VOD review. Sometimes there are greater concepts that might help you, but I'll be real. CD management in a one-team fight, you'll know if you did something wrong there, right? And sometimes you need that extra help, and that's fine to go VOD review that. That's about the only time that I actually recommend people doing so. The next thing I wanted to go into, and this is kind of a self-sabotage, since I do pride myself in a lot of the people that I take as clients or, just talk to over the overall period of the game. You don't necessarily need coaching to become better at this game. I know a lot of you are like, I don't want to spend $50 just to understand what I'm doing right and wrong. I actually encourage people not to do that. I think that there's a lot of free content out there that can actually help you and make you a better player as a whole by doing so. And that is exactly how I improved. I didn't ask for coaching. I didn't actually go and seek anything. In fact, the only media that I digested was based on my character. I just wanted to see how they would break down. Whether that was me watching Japanese curry just went go and slaughter lobbies in Eternity, or watching Chasm play Magic to understand what could I have done better. A lot of that I actually learned through free content, and you can definitely do it too. Um, I think it's very, very, very important that a lot of people go and they practice good habits and they learn these things on their own. You'll have a lot more of a benefit. And I think that putting in a little bit of extra practice here and there, don't just log on to Marvel Rivals without a warm up. That makes you play worse. I promise it does. I play way better whenever I've trained, played a little bit of like practice range Psylocke, just shooting bots for a little bit, right? It's a lot more helpful than one might think, and it actually guaranteed me a lot more wins that I know I wouldn't have been able to make if I was ice cold, right? These things that you end up practicing and you putting in that little bit of extra time rather than going and playing a ranked game can definitely help in the long run. Don't just mindlessly queue up. You'll not get anywhere. You'll end up like my duo who fell all the way from Eternity down to Grandmaster 1. Not a good time. Very, very not pretty. And a lot of that was because he mental boomed. He queued without asking himself the questions. What could I have done better? What is the greatest thing that I could have done better? You know, not fixing his champ pool. These things happen, and they happen to me. They can happen to you, and they will happen to you if you don't take the bull by the horns, right? I'm not saying that my advice is sound or like the best out there, but it's just an analysis from somebody that's been there in your shoes, from somebody that was in plat, somebody that was there. I wasn't like some of these other people that were just like, oh, I spawned in and I'm, in Celestial. I worked really, really hard in terms of like playing a video game, harder than a video game probably should be played, right? And I had a lot of fun doing it. The next thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is, in my closing statements, is solo queuing and the pros and cons and the things that you'll learn whilst duo queuing or playing with other people. Towards the end of the season, I did play a little bit more with a friend rather than playing just by myself. I made it to Celestial 1 for the most part all alone on 2 accounts, and I had a really, really good time doing it. And hitting Eternity was very fun, and I did it after picking up my friend. He has a YouTube channel, doesn't post that much, but I'll link it down below as well. And I had a really, really good time doing that as well. But the truth of the matter is, solo queuing is just harder. It just is. You have a lot more to account for than yourself, but you will technically always climb if you're playing at your best all the time, right? If you're playing well and you're playing consistent, you don't have to account for your own mistakes as much. That's great. But playing with somebody definitely helps, and it's not a necessity, but it will definitely get you further in the long run, and you'll also just like playing the game a lot more. You won't go as crazy as I did. Playing solo queue on stream sometimes just was flat out hurting my brain. I was racking my brain to figure out what I was doing wrong. Sometimes the answer is just, you're not good enough. But you don't have to rely on other people. You can rely on yourself a lot more if you play with somebody you trust. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't have people like that. Well, I do have a Discord server, and if that's something that you're interested in, I'm not going to go and plug that all this time. But also, I found people that were good at the game that I just added off of Marvel Rivals. People that kind of had good aura and vibe around them that I really, really was intrigued by, and they were consistent enough that I was like, yeah, if I played with them, I actually feel like I could be a better player by learning from them and just focusing on myself a lot more, and that's a really big thing. I think playing in solo queue will make you better as a whole than playing with a stack, and you will improve a lot faster by playing in solo queue, as you will be able to legitimately put yourself in the position of, this is where I'm at, and it's on me to get out of this, right? But you can, cushion that a lot more if you're playing with somebody else, which is super helpful in the long run. Overall, I know, again, this isn't our normal type of video, and those videos will be coming soon, as well as some new videos from other characters that I'm super duper interested in as well. And if you enjoyed any of this and any of this helped you, or even if it didn't and you just enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. I urge a lot of you to incorporate some of this, try it out a little bit, see where it gets you and how far it gets you, and I'm eager to hear how it went for you in the long run. I am still loving this game, and I enjoy playing it every time I'm on, and actually, to be honest, now that I've hit Eternity, it makes me all that much more excited to try for One Above All. Now that we don't have the 4 stacks in Eternity Plus running around, I'm super duper stoked, and I love you guys so very much, and appreciate every single one of you watching and showing up every day. So thank you again, and I love you, mean it, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.